Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty significant. What goes into interviewing for an assistant chief of police role?
That's right. We're looking at some material from hellointern.in. It's a career prep log,
Yeah.
and it really gives a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, it shows what police departments are really looking for at those top leadership levels.
Exactly. And our goal here isn't, just to prep candidates.
No, it's broader. We want to kind of unpack the core skills, the crucial experiences, the mindset needed for this kind of job.
So maybe you're an officer thinking about moving up, or perhaps just curious about leadership in, a really demanding field.
Right. Or even if you're just interested in organizational leadership generally, there's something here for you. Okay, let's dive in. Where does Hello Interns start? Foundational strengths, I think.
Yes, key strengths. They pinpoint four core areas that seem to come up again and again.
Okay, what are they?
Strong leadership, strategic planning, community engagement, and problem solving.
Right, the big ones.
But it's more than just listing them. The source gets specific. Like, leadership isn't just being in charge. It's described as collaborative, empowering officers,
Okay, collaborative leadership. That makes sense in a complex organization like a police department.
fostering buy-in, right?
Exactly. And then strategic planning, it's not just putting out fires. It's about being proactive, looking ahead.
Anticipating challenges. What does that actually look like in practice? Any specific methods mentioned?
Well, they don't detail specific frameworks in this piece, but typically you'd see things like SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats,
Ah,
or maybe scenario planning, thinking about different potential futures for the community or the department. It's about having a plan, not just reacting.
got it. A structured approach.
Hmm.
Now, community engagement. That feels incredibly important right now.
Oh, absolutely. The focus is squarely on building trust. It seems to me moving beyond just, showing up at events.
How so? More integrated. Yeah, kind of. More like building actual relationships, working with the residents on problems, co-creating solutions, maybe more regular informal interactions, getting officers truly embedded.
Deeper understanding, deeper trust makes sense. And the last one, problem solving.
Problem solving, yeah. But with an analytical edge. Using data, look
Right.
at crime trends, figure out where to put resources effectively.
So very data informed, not just going on gut feeling.
Precisely. It's about evidence. And, these strengths aren't just buzzwords. They have real impact.
Like what?
Well, collaborative leadership. That can boost morale, right?
Mm.
Make officers feel valued. Strategic planning means better efficiency.
And community engagement could actually help prevent crime in the first place.
Exactly. And strong problem solving directly tackles crime rates. It all ties back to effectiveness and public safety.
Okay, so those are the core strengths. But leadership also involves, well, managing the money. Budget and resource management is another area, isn't it?
A huge one. It really highlights the accountability. We're talking managing likely a significant budget. The source implies multi-million-dollar overseeing spending.
Prioritizing projects.
Right. And staying compliant with all the rules. It's complex.
And the source mentions cost-saving measures too, but without hurting essential services. That sounds like a tricky balance.
It definitely is. It needs skill in forecasting future needs, analyzing spending variances, seeing where the money actually went versus the plan, and allocating resources smartly.
So every dollar supports the main goals.
That's the idea. It ensures the department can actually do its job effectively.
Okay, shifting gears a bit to something very sensitive but absolutely critical, handling officer misconduct.
Yeah, this is non-negotiable for trust and integrity. The process described is all about being immediate, thorough, and crucially impartial.
Following established policies to the letter.
Absolutely. It involves, gathering evidence carefully, interviewing witnesses thoroughly, and ensuring due process for the officer involved.
Fairness is key.
And transparency. The source stresses transparency, both inside of the department and with the public. How these things are handled really matters for perception.
Right, and the potential consequences, they range quite a bit.
They do, based on the investigation, the regs, the law. It could be anything from, say, counseling or retraining all the way up to termination. It's taken very seriously.
Which it needs to be. Okay, building on that theme of trust, let's talk about improving community relations more broadly.
This is such a big focus now,
Yeah.
moving towards more collaborative policing models. Partnership, really.
So what strategies are highlighted?
Well, prioritizing community policing itself is key.
Yep.
But also fostering open communication, having regular meetings like town halls or with community leaders.
Practical stuff like neighborhood watch programs too.
Yeah, things like that. Initiatives that build dialogue. And significantly, there's also emphasis on de-escalation training and bias training for officers.
Addressing concerns about how interactions happen.
Exactly. Trying to ensure fairer outcomes. And it's not a one-off thing. The idea is to use feedback mechanisms, listen to community concerns, and actually adapt based on what you hear.
Continuous improvement. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, let's switch to the analytical side again. Crime analysis and data-driven policing.
Right. This is about using evidence. The material talks about experience using crime data to spot trends, identify hotspots, those high crime areas, and see patterns.
So you need the skills to actually interpret that data, like using specific software.
Yeah, proficiency in things like crime mapping software, statistical analysis, it helps leaders decide where to put their resources most effectively.
Is there an example?
Yes, the source gives one about tackling a surge in burglaries. They use crime analysis to see the when and where.
And then?
Then they could target patrols more effectively in those specific areas at those times. And, well, it led to a reduction in burglaries.
A tangible result. Shows the power of using data smartly.
Exactly. It's proactive, not just reactive.
Okay. Another crucial internal factor. Officer morale. How does an assistant chief deal with that, especially in such a stressful job?
Well, first, you need to gauge it. The source mentions things like regular surveys, anonymous ones perhaps, and also open forums where officers can actually voice concerns.
So listening is key.
Absolutely. And then responding.
Yeah.
Open communication, transparency about issues, and addressing problems fairly and promptly, making people feel heard.
It's not just about fixing problems, though, is it?
No, it's also proactive, providing good support, training, opportunities for professional development, things that enhance job satisfaction, maybe help manage that stress.
Investing in your people, essential. Okay, what about new tools? Technology in policing is always evolving.
It is. And the approach needs to be strategic, not just jumping on the latest trend.
What does that involve?
Thorough research first. Understanding the tech, its pros and cons, then careful planning for rollout. And, really important, effective training for the officers who will use it.
Can't just throw new tech at people.
Exactly. And the priorities should be technologies that genuinely improve efficiency or enhance public safety and are, cost-effective. Value for money.
Makes sense. And aligning it with policies and laws.
Critical. You have to ensure any new tech fits within legal and ethical boundaries. Responsible implementation.
Right. Now, leading at this level must mean juggling a million things at once. How does effective prioritization and time management come into play?
It's fundamental. You simply can't do everything. The material mentions using techniques like the Eisenhower matrix, urgent versus important.
Yeah, sorting tasks.
And maybe time blocking, dedicating specific times for specific high-priority work. Strong organizational skills are a must.
A delegation, I assume. You can't micromanage at that level.
Definitely not. Effective delegation is crucial. You need to trust your team and focus your own energy on the big picture, the strategic stuff. Managing multiple projects, meeting deadlines, it's intense.
Finally, the tough calls. Interviews often ask about making a difficult decision under pressure. What's the interviewer looking for there?
They want to see your judgment in action, your thought process when things get difficult.
So not just the outcome, but how you decided.
Exactly. The material emphasizes using a specific example. No hypotheticals. You need to describe the situation, the pressure, how you weighed the options, what you decided, and crucially, the outcome and what you learned.
The learning part is key. Shows self-awareness.
It really does. It demonstrates critical thinking and the ability to grow from experience, even tough ones.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive really shows that being an assistant chief of police requires this complex blend. Leadership, strategy, community focus, analytical skills.
Sound judgment under pressure. It covers a lot of ground. Operational know-how mixed with high-level thinking and, well, people skills.
Definitely. And considering all these qualities we've discussed, it kind of makes you think, doesn't it? What are the biggest challenges facing police leaders today?
That's a great question to ponder.
And how might these specific skills, the collaborative leadership, the data analysis, the community engagement, actually help tackle those challenges? Something for our listeners to mull over.
Food for thought, absolutely.
Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. We hope it offered some valuable insights.
Yeah, hope it was useful.
Until our next exploration.